Did you ever play the party game of whispering quotations? It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Tom has a sentence to start the game. Let's see what it is. Here's Susie swam at the seashore. Now Tom whispers the sentence, and each player will repeat what he hears. It isn't so easy. No, Mary can't hear it again. Just repeat whatever she heard. How do you suppose the sentence will come out? We'll know in a moment. Frank is writing down what he heard. Ran to the shoe store. And what was the original sentence? Sister Susie swam at the seashore. Quite a difference. Yes, a simple quotation can certainly be changed in being passed along from one person to another. Quotations were a lot of fun for Tom at the party. It wasn't until later that he found out how important they can be. That Saturday, Tom and Mary and Frank were walking past the school playground and wishing they could go in and play. They never could understand why the gate was always locked on Saturdays. Mary thought it was time to find out whether anything could be done to open the playground. Frank thought so too. He could ask Mr. Allen, the physical education teacher. Mary offered to interview Mr. Schaefer, the school principal. Tom said he'd ask his big brother about it. But would Tom's brother really know anything about the playground? No, if they were going to gather accurate information, they'd have to talk to people who were authorities. Then Tom had another idea. He could talk it over with his father's friend, Mr. Pennington, president of the Civic Improvement League. He would certainly know something about playgrounds. Anything he told them would have real importance. So they agreed to find out what these various people could tell them, and then meet at Tom's house after school Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon came, but what happened? They had seen the various people as they agreed, and they met to discuss what they had heard. But they had just about given up, because the more they talked among themselves, the more confused they became.
Frank, did Mr. Allen really say we couldn't use the school's athletic equipment?
Yes. No. He said there would have to be a supervisor on duty.
Well, Mr. Schaefer said there's no money for that.
But the Civic Improvement League, Mr. Pennington, said that they might help. At least I think that's what he said.
Didn't you say that Mr. Schaefer said something about the Civic Improvement League?
Yes, something. Anyhow, Mr. Schaefer did say that if we prepared a report on what we learned, he could use it to try to help us.
Well, what have you written?
Nothing. How can I write what we heard when we don't even know ourselves?
That's the trouble.
Now Tom is thinking about something, remembering something. Do you know what it is? Can you remember? Of course, the party game, quotations. The sentence got so mixed up in passing down the line that by the time it reached the end, you could hardly recognize what the first person had said. That day, it was funny. This day, it was serious. No wonder Mary couldn't write a report of what they had heard.
Look, the only way we're going to get anything done is to write this report for Mr. Schaefer.
That's what I've been trying to do.
I know, but let's write down what we remember that these people said, and then let them check what we've written.
Well, I'll try.
How about it, Frank? What did Mr. Allen tell you?
I told you. He said he thinks it's a good idea. But wait a minute. In my notebook, I wrote down the main part where he was talking, just like a newspaper reporter. Let's see now. Here. Now ready, Mary?
I'm ready.
Mr. Allen said it would be a good thing to open the playground on Saturday, but we couldn't let you take out the school's athletic equipment unless there is to be a supervisor on duty, and there doesn't seem to be much chance of that.
Mary wrote down everything Frank said, but Tom noticed something wrong. Do you see what's wrong? Of course, it isn't properly punctuated. What did Mr. Allen say? Watch how Tom punctuates the quotation. a comma, a capital letter, quotation marks to indicate the beginning of the quotation, and what else? Quotation marks at the end of the quotation.
Mr. Allen didn't say all that. I just added on the last part.
Well, how was I to know? You said it all together.
That's right. When you're quoting somebody, you sort of have to talk quotation marks.
I see what you mean. Let me try it again. Mr. Allen said it would be a good thing to open the playground on Saturday, but we couldn't let you take out the school's athletic equipment unless there is to be a supervisor on duty. That's what he said, and I can't see that there's much chance of that.
So here is the end of the quotation from Mr. Allen. The rest is a quotation from Frank and doesn't belong in the report. With a clean copy of the report, Frank called on Mr. Allen the next day and asked him to check the quotation. Mr. Allen read it carefully and said that it was accurate. Mary went back to see Mr. Schaefer to find out whether she had quoted him correctly. In her statement, she used no quotation marks. None were needed because she did not quote Mr. Schaefer directly, but gave an indirect quotation of what he said. A paraphrase.
Well, Mary, may I see how you quoted me?
Here it is. I think that's what you said. Almost. Is it wrong?
Well, in a way, it's wrong. These are almost the words I used, but you have given them a somewhat different meaning. The first part is correct, but then you've written, and that he had talked with the Civic Improvement League and had tried other sources of raising money. That sounds as though I had tried all these other sources some time ago, and now there's no hope of raising the money.
That's what I thought you said. You mean now you have found the money?
That isn't what I said either. Here, let's correct this. Let's change this and to but, and let's change had talked to is talking. Let's change had tried to is trying. Now read it.
But that he is talking with the Civic Improvement League and is trying other sources of raising money. Why, that is different.
You see how easy it is to take something a person has said and make it sound as though he said something quite different?
I didn't mean to make it sound different, but I see I must be more careful to be sure I'm quoting accurately.
And Tom wanted his quotation to be accurate, too.
Yes. I went back and checked our report with Mr. Pennington. And, well, that first time I guess I just didn't understand what he was talking about. But this time I know what he said, and I quote, "If enough children will use this playground to make it worthwhile, then I believe the Civic League might pay for a supervisor."
The Civic League will pay?
He said they might pay.
But, said Mr. Pennington, there is still work to be done in gathering facts and figures to convince the association that this project is worth the money. End of quotation.
I think that's where Mr. Schaefer can help us, as soon as we turn in this report.
Things look better, don't they? Once Tom and Mary and Frank were off the track, now they're on the right track to achieve their goal. They have this opportunity because they're acting on information supplied by reliable authorities, because they have complete, accurate information, and because they understand quotations, use them. Now, Mr. Schaefer can use their quotations to help them get the playground opened on Saturdays. Whenever you use a quotation, watch that quotation.